going to do in January next year.
All right.
Honestly,
Is everybody ready? Welcome. This is SLA Updates. So we're going to do, this is actually going to be the same session again later. Last year when we did this, we only did one session and folks really wanted to come and hear from the SLA. And I don't have anything prepared to say, but I will say this. As the executive director, and I hear from you, and you call me sometimes with issues and frustrations or questions. First I go to Stephen Fleming, who hopefully you all know, and Stephen can really help out. But I will say this about our state liquor authority. They're very responsive. I'm so fortunate in my job to be able to call Bill or Paul, and then just meeting the new chair, Leone, who we're honored to have with us today. I can't say enough on how supportive they are of our industry and how lucky we are to have them. So thank you for being here, and I will hand it to the new chair, Leone.
Hi, so again, I'm Lily Fan. I'm the current chair and commissioner of the State Liquor Authority. This is our chief of staff, Bill Crawley, who's been at the agency almost 2 decades, doing a variety of jobs, but now he is essentially the person really running the whole place. Paul Cronimo, also almost 2 decades at the agency, our wholesale guru, our manufacturing guru, and also our legislative director. So wearing a lot of hats and really contributing hugely in our strategies on hoping to shed light on all of your work and change alcohol. And the last not least is Stephen Fleming, who I wish worked for us, but essentially worked for us, but is being paid by another agency called Empire State Development, and he has essentially been running the whole economic development aspect of our world, and so we are all very thankful to him for being your real liaison on the manufacturing front. And he gives us a lot of ideas. He tells us, brutally about what we're doing wrong and what needs to change, quite stubbornly and quite forcefully. And so we really appreciate, him being the eyes and ears on the ground. And if I could, he would come up to us, but we will get there. So I am, again, I have been at the agency. I have been chair only since June. But for 5 years before that, I was a part-time commissioner on what we call full board, which mostly just meant that I was a volunteer who came into work every other week, did homework to prepare for full board every other weekend for 5 years. Most of the work was licensing and enforcement related, and so I would say that I didn't really learn a lot about the manufacturing area of this law at all during my time on full board. And so it's been sort of a crash course on trying to figure out how to respect and protect your work as I continue to sink in deeper into this role. Before this, I started, just give you a little bit of background on who I am. I've done a few things in my life. I was a white-collar litigator. I went to the Beverage Center last night and they said that, and I was reminded, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. I was a white-collar litigator to start off with. And then I was, I served as counsel to the Social Services Committee in the State Senate. And so that's how I learned how to make law. That's how I learned about public service, really. So I don't come from a prosecutor background. I don't come here to defend what is written on the page. I don't certainly come here to create what's not written on the page. I come here to help it change it, to make things easier for you. And so I think I come with a slightly different perspective and different angle from my predecessors. After my stint as counsel in the state senate, I actually became a producer because I thought the stories and the context of everything is actually more important than fighting budget. And so I became a producer, became a storyteller. And when you're a producer, you're not the one writing the content. And in theater and in film, we really respect the content creator, which is where you guys are sitting. And so I exist to support you. If there is no you there, if we don't have the product, there is no need for policy or distributors or retailers. And so I wish that, my work can continue to raise the importance of your existence and the reward that's going to you. Because I think that, in theater, we respect the writers. We allow the writers to have full control. We allow, copyright to go on for 99 years. And sometimes in this area, I'm quite surprised by the lack of respect for the people who are creating the product. Theater is a three-tier system, just like this was. We have creatives, we have theater owners, we have producers, and we have the people that service, the whole system. And so I see a lot of parallels, and I see a lot of relational conflicts that are very similar. And I hope that I'm in a position where I can try to, resolve some of that. And again, if it's a win-win policy, do bring it to our attention. We do want to implement things that will make it easier for you. So I have been at the job since June. It's been jump into the deep end and figure this out. Again, I came from a policy-making perspective, which is working in the Senate. I've never run an agency before. But our agency is similar to a Broadway show. Usually we have maybe 150 people working on one Broadway show. Our agency is, less than 150 people, which is crazy. We have 56,000 licensees, about 500 or so now of craft breweries in New York State. We deal with 25,000 event permits and 24,000 temporary permits. We do all of that with less than 150 people. And so we also have multiple bureaus. While we do our own licensing, we also do all our own enforcement. And Paul single-handedly run all of our wholesale and price posting and answer all your questions about all of that. And so a lot of my work has been trying to decentralize our agency and try to build the chains of command that are separate in each different bureaus. We have a total of 8 bureaus. And so a lot of my time has been spent trying to, give people more responsibility, push them up into leadership, and charge them with the responsibility of really overseeing their own bureau. It's a really decentralizing effort. As you know, we have a huge backlog, and so we have also spent a lot of time in a room. Just, now it's not 2 people in a room, it's, every issue we have, we try to form a leadership team of between 5 to 8, sometimes 10 people that all have expertise in the different areas, and we try to sit around the table and really discuss it. The backlog committee, I think that, 12 of us probably spend 10 hours, I would say, trying to hash out how to do this, what is the best way forward, what are the risks that are involved, and counsel's office will opine, enforcement will opine, licensing will say, this is okay, this is not okay, and then we have smaller meetings, and then we come back as a group and continue it, and that process has really worked for the new leadership team to try to come up with processes that will serve the industry best. And so when I started, was looking at a backlog of about 6,000. We have processed about 700 or so through this new committee that we formed. So we're at only about 10%, but we are continuing to add more members. We're continuing to refine the processes, and it's going faster and faster. And so hopefully within 1 year, we will not have a backlog to speak of. And when we don't have a backlog, then in theory, there's no need for temps. And so there's, so when we actually do our work properly, then some of these legislative ideas that people spend a lot of money and time on, advocating for will essentially become obsolete. And so we're working very hard and really hoping that will happen. Besides staffing issues and backlog, we've spent a lot of time doing budgetary proposals. As you know, the governor and the two houses are now negotiating a budget. Our version of those ideas were due back in September, and so I would say that this year we really were just stealing from prior administrations and putting forth what they thought was important that came out of the commission report in 2023. So it's an opportunity moving forward for us to really brainstorm with all of you and hear what you want to see change in our area, and that in the next 6 months we're sort of getting ourselves ready for the next budget cycle. So we've also spent a lot of time meeting. There are some familiar faces here. We've spent a lot of time just meeting and greeting industry members, and that's really my favorite part of this work, especially for the manufacturers, because you guys really are you are the creatives. Like, you are the ones that are, leading the charge in, how, there's lots of innovation. There's a lot of, there's all this new technology that you guys are using. And so that has been, the most rewarding part of my new role. And so, I think that this is an exciting time, not because of me, really. It's really because of our governor, who is the first female governor of the state. I don't know if you've been following her social media, but, she does a lot of photo ops with at drinking establishments. Let's just say that. So, I see her going to bars, and I'm sending him pictures. Do you know she was doing this? Like, no, we don't know. Like, we're not setting this up. Like, she's just doing it as part of her own, her own agenda and what she likes. And so, she is very much like the people's governor. Really, she's not here trying to do presidential issues so that she can get into higher office. She really cares about everyday people. She cares about, public safety, of course, is a concern of hers, but she also really cares about small businesses and the ability for you to survive and thrive. And so, and she also really cares about consumer convenience. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for us to work together and try to use the time that this administration has to make changes. I think that there is a lot of archaic pushback that have been going on for the past decade or 2 decades or 3 decades. And I think now is a time for change, as the last administration did a lot of work in the craft brewery area, and when economic development became introduced into our mission, there was a huge hit on, on trying to change the legislation, and that's been really, really rewarding. As you guys know, the number of craft breweries went up 5-fold. But now there's sort of an adjustment. How are we going to manage ourselves as other commodities are coming to the market? How are we going to adjust ourselves when there are more and more breweries opening? When cross-state shipping is being forced into the courts and there's going to be more and more competition. As after the pandemic boom, there is a sort of a slight decline in consumption, and so how do we make sure that our pie is still being maintained, and how do we sort of keep growing and trying to ship to and get our products out to the rest of the country. I am, very focused on trying to come up with the right strategies and the right answers to make sure that you guys are happy with, what you're doing and continue to doing it, and that you're rewarded for doing what you do so well. So, maybe I should stop here and people can ask questions. I think Stefan has a little bit of, comments that you've prepared as well.
I don't have any comments that I've prepared. I guess I just want to say, thank you to the three of you, honestly. I've been doing this job for about 8 years now, and I've tried to be present with all of you. I've tried to always listen to the things that you need and take that back to the Liquor Authority and be your liaison to state government. And not to impugn the prior senior staff at the Liquor Authority, but the back and forth dialogue that we've had since Chair Fan has come in last summer has been honestly nothing short of astounding. It's been really great to just listen to, as you said, some of the ideas that I've stubbornly been bringing up, and that's a really new development that is really great. We have a great opportunity to have a great partnership with the Liquor Authority. So I guess I just want to say thank you once again to all of you, but also, you don't need to look at the Liquor Authority as the boogeyman anymore. They're not the boogeyman. They've never been the boogeyman. They don't want to be the boogeyman. So they're here to help, and just as I am. So thank you again.
Questions? Dan, will you go up to the mic?
Yeah, sure. So mine's not a question, it's more of a thanks, because I called Paul about 2 months ago as our first opportunity to open up a branch office for our liquor license. And it's a leased space. It was a former brewery that sadly closed. If it was under the old 6 to 8 months, there's no way I would have been able to cash flow doing that lease, because I'm able to basically do some quick renovations. And Paul said, funny you should call me. I just heard yesterday that the temporary license was extended to the branch offices. So that just made all the difference. That made this project go. So thank you. It makes a big difference.
No, you're welcome. We have issued about 200 of these manufacturing temps. And, again, like Stefan said, we're here to support you. I don't come with I'm here to say no. Like, that would be kind of weird if I come here with that mentality. This area is certainly filled with landmines. When I used to work in social services, no one ever questioned my intention. Everybody was there sort of, with the same agenda. We're trying to help people in poverty. In this area, it's slightly different in the sense that, there is a pie that we're all trying to split. And, and we're navigating, the different tiers. And we are also navigating, wellness experts, addiction experts, which are funded by certain people, and they are very quick to come out and very timely attack things that we try to do for the industry. And so, I think that it's helpful for us to all band together and really be on the same page about a lot of things. I think that that's the relationship that we try to develop with our sister agencies, ESD, Agriculture Markets. We really try to be on the same page with them about policies. And then more importantly is that we try to be on the same page with our chamber leadership. That, people would, there are a lot of, players in the industry that exist to divide us. That they will call me and say, well, if the governor and council says X, if they agree with you, and I would like to take the position that we are the governor's council, even though they don't always listen to us, they certainly ask us for our opinion on almost everything now. So I think that's slightly different, again, from prior administration. And I ask all of you to take advantage of that, because what I can tell them is based on what you're telling me. So if you don't tell me what you're thinking, if you don't tell me what will make it easier for you, we're actually wasting this opportunity to, feed information and then really impact the policies. Again, we have this window of time that we can really change things, so I ask you to use it. All these temp ideas came out of you guys saying this is taking too long, right? And then it's, well, every year we expand it to the next person. Now we're fighting temp for wholesalers. So, and then we're, adding liquor into temp when they permit, so it's always piecemeal, but it would be helpful if we can get a more comprehensive, thorough understanding of where you guys are. I mean, in the end, I think that beer, it's in a pretty good place, comparing to other products. For sure, you guys have it pretty good, and but again, anything that we can do to make it easier, do let us know.
Sorry, quick question that I get a lot. Stefan and I do about a dozen regional meetings, which you all have seen, and one of the questions that we get a lot is what role THC beverages play in state liquor authority. Can I make THC beverages? Those sort of things. How would you, can you address that?
So I'm not here saying no. So let's just back up for 1 second. When they legalize cannabis, I am told that the legislative intent is to keep THC and alcohol separate. The science, if you talk to the people that carry the bills, the science certainly suggests that these two substances should not be mingled together. And I think that, the thought at the time, and I was literally just asking, well, why didn't the thought expand? But again, it wasn't, the question wasn't asked. And then that's how the sausage is made, is sometimes when no one asks a question, it's not in the law. But it's clearly stated in the ABCL right now that if you are a retailer of alcohol, it's expected that you do not also sell THC. So that's the current law. The law does not address the manufacturing level. I go to lots of alcohol conferences across the country. And so these types of drinks are coming up a lot in a lot of different states. The THC and alcohol combination, I have not heard one regulator yet say that they were okay with it. And so I think that this is going to be a national-wide approach, is to not allow it. But New York State has yet to fully opine on this. I do know that there are a lot of Delta 8-9 drinks out there that are non-alc, that are in the that's in the market, and the enforcement of such is kind of landing on the ground, because Delta 8-9 in theory is not actually even controlled by OCM, because it's a hemp product, and it's actually an ag and markets question. So I think that there's risks in that, but again, if the science lead us one day to believe that there are no safety concerns, I think that we're willing to read that report.
Can I just expand on the question? So from a manufacturing standpoint, not from a retail standpoint or from a sales standpoint, if another state allows it and it's all legal and everything's licensed, as a New York manufacturer with an SLA manufacturer's license and an ags and markets hemp manufacturing license, with a good GMP, the GMP process and all that stuff, getting certified by them. Is there anything currently in the SLA regulations that, as somebody who has a license on my property, I cannot also manufacture hemp products that have in it Delta 8 or 9 THC?
That's a good question. So I think this has to do with what, I think that, can you interstate transfer hemp?
That's the thing.
I think that, because you cannot interstate transfer THC.
Right, you won't be able to get TTD cola for your beverage.
No, non-alcoholic beverage, so no TTD cola. But there are certain states that allow THC beverages to be sold, whether it be hemp derived or not. Hemp is federally legal.
Right.
And so manufacturing within the state of New York a product that has THC in it to 5 milligrams or whatever it may be, in my facility that produces alcohol regulated by the TTD and the SLA, is there a state regulation that says, even if I have the New York State GMP hemp manufacturer's license placed on that facility, am I at odds with my SLA permit because I'm also making alcohol in the same facility? Just like, you can throw an on-premise license and a farm brewer's license, and you can throw a million licenses on your space to do alcohol. If I add another New York State agency's license onto that same exact.
We need the lady from the Ag and Markets table to come in. Because really, this is an Ag and Markets question.
So as long as they
Because we are
provide
not
a
licensing you for the hemp production.
Right, I just want to make sure.
And I don't think that we specifically say you cannot make hemp products.
Non-alcoholic beverages,
Can you make it or not make it?
not in statute.
So you cannot make it?
Allowing manufacture of non-alcoholic beverages.
So manufacturing any non-alcoholic beverages within a licensed facility is illegal?
As a brewer, that's not one of the license privileges of the Alcohol Beverage Control.
Seltzer with lemon in it.
You can store non-alcoholic beverages for consumption on or off the premises in a tax-paid room. You can sell Coca-Cola.
But I can't make my own seltzer.
Right.
Or NA beer?
Or non-alcoholic beer.
What about NA beer? I mean, really, it's not alcoholic.
So we're gonna double check with general counsel on the legality of any beer.
I will tell you that I was making a Delta 8 seltzer, and then the minute that New York State scheduled Delta 8, I got a Department of Health notice to stop making Delta 8 seltzer, even though I thought I was okay under my alcohol. I did not know the last thing you said, but I did get a cease and desist from DOH the minute that they moved Delta 8 to some schedule. So, just so you know. It came from the Department of Health.
No, I'm telling you, it lands somewhere on the ground with this. And,
The whole thing with the non-alcoholic stuff, though, so legally based on your reading of that, is I can't make a bubbly water with lemon juice in it.
I mean, I'm willing to have the conversation. If it's in statute, it's legal. That's always been my policy.
It's not in the statute.
I mean, the legislature went into a great deal of detail about exactly what you can and cannot do in your licensed premises.
Including soda.
And to me, maybe there's items that are properly subject to prosecutorial discretion as well as part of this meeting. But again, that would be a discussion to include general counsel.
yeah, it's complicated. I think that there is not a lot of, so this is why we're here, right? It's important that you guys spend your time and energy to go talk to the legislature. There is no one. Senator Skoufis is a really good friend of ours. His effort is very much focused on and it's not because he's not interested, it's because he's not being talked to. He is very focused on retail tier and wholesale tier, right? If you guys want to add non-alc into the brewery bill, that's for you to do. That's not for us to say you cannot do something. It's for you to go actually write it and change the law. And so, again, we don't legislate, we just enforce the law. So if the law isn't clear, then go get it clarified so that you can all be doing it legally. If someone is getting a cease and desist, then obviously the Department of Health thinks that this is not okay. And certainly, I talk to a lot of my peers, and there are a lot of states, as you know, that run alcohol and cannabis in the same agency. So they have, they literally one brain, doing both commodities. And the state is not like that. So we try to stay just in the alcohol corner. we try not to opine publicly on someone else's jurisdiction. And probably you can try to change the law. So I'm not, telling you what to do, but you can probably change the law to get them to license you, right? To do non-alc and THC or something like that. I mean, why not?
Well, thank you for coming. I have 3 things I want to ask you about. First of all, you mentioned that the backlog is now 6,000?
Somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000, yeah.
Because I was in this room last year, the SLA session, I could have sworn I heard 2,000. Am I mistaken? Was anyone else here?
Last year in March, it's possible. When I started, it was, in June, it was about 4,200. But there's been, believe it or not, I mean, as much as you think the industry is, shrinking, there's been a lot of filings because of corporate changes, people just getting in and out of the business, post-pandemic. And we also updated our software system, and that created a giant slowdown since October. And so the numbers have grown.
Yeah, I'm aware of the slowdown with the system change. And suggestion, I know with the renewal notices that we get, they're still coming via the mail, and I'm not sure about you, but at my house, I get mail for half the town, but not my mail all the time. And I was just wondering if there's ever been consideration to go electronic.
Yeah, I think
that's
is.
not foolproof either, because once someone at SLA typed my email address wrong, and I didn't get notices about termination for license because there wasn't going to me. So that's, I don't know, there's no easy solution there.
Yeah, I mean, we can, I imagine, I think that it's going to be part of the lead launch when we get to the front portal opening for applications, and eventually everything will be electronic.
That'd be great. The last thing, I don't want to take up much more time.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
currently trying to amend a license, and when I call to ask the person, and
Trying to amend the license with what?
I had a year-round license for an outdoor bar at my facility, a brewery and restaurant, and realized that I probably should just go seasonal because it's only open seasonal, so I wanted to amend it to reduce the amount of time that we're operating, and which is a lower fee. And first person, and when I call SLA, I do commend you guys because people pick up the phone. It's really easy to get through. So unfortunately, the first person said do this, the next person said do that, the third phone call was a third answer. So please, the sooner you can organize folks there, because I'm still not sure where I stand. I got 3 different directions, so that's it.
Come give Bill your number after.
I have paperwork to hand to you, yes, thank you.
There's probably different ways you can do it, though.
What's that?
There's probably a number of ways you can do it.
And that's what I was getting, but
Yeah.
everyone was saying, no, that's wrong. From SLA, do it this way, do it that way.
Sometimes, so you think that you're calling the SLA, it's actually our call center over at Tax and Finance.
True,
So it's not often our own staff.
I know.
And so they tell you what they think is the answer. And then if you get to our own staff, they may have a different opinion. And then leadership may actually think that, no, that's wrong, that's lack of training.
So
I
is
mean,
there one
it's-
person that knows everything, or just call that person?
Yeah, you're probably right. Like, whatever you think is the most logical answer is probably the right one. But just tell Bill.
Will do, thank you.
Hi. I want to ask a quick question about standardizing rules for events. Say I'm thinking in terms of a farm brewery that has expanded to become, to also have a farm distillery component. Where one of the problems that we're sometimes running into is, say, we'll do a fair or an event where we're allowed to sell, say, beer, buy the beer as a drink, but we end up not being allowed to, say, sell a serving of alcohol as a gin and tonic. Or the question is there any intent to try to standardize the rules regarding the serving of alcohol across the various formats?
So your larger question, I'll answer later, but just so you know, as part of this budget season, the governor has proposed to add liquor to one-day permits. And so that's just the easy fix that we're trying to offer, so that you can do that. We're also proposing, which is insane that we have to propose this, that now these events can be outdoors. I didn't write the law, I'm just here to fix it.
Yes. One of the issues that we're running across is, say, with fairs, for example, where we have a week-long event, and
Yeah.
you can sell some of your products, and you can't sell others of your products. And
No, I
it's-
understand. Well, so we're trying to fix it that way, but as far as your larger question of parity, I think that's much more complicated and not something that we can solve quickly. You know, there's a lot of different opinion. Then, you know, when you start talking about selling liquor everywhere, you know, then the addiction experts start coming out of the woods, and then it becomes, oh, you're killing people. And, you know, and that's really not our intention at all, of course. And so, you know, as a group of people that are trying to do this work, we're really trying to look at the facts. We're trying to, offer chamber ideas of, well, if the alcohol content is lower, then it should have parity. If the bottle size is certain, it should have equivalency. So we're trying to make those arguments, but it's a longer conversation.
Right. Because we are speaking of parity in the sense of one serving of alcohol versus one serving of alcohol versus one serving of alcohol, whether it's whatever format it's in.
Yeah, well, the people who criticize would be like, but it takes half an hour to drink that amount, and this is one shot. I mean, that's, like, I'm telling you what you already know.
Sure.
So, it's a battle that we continue to fight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to the backlog a little bit. We applied for a liquor license in March of last year, March of 23. Got it acknowledged in April, and then continue to have to pull temporary liquor licenses and pay for every single temporary license that we pull. If my owner comes into my office again pulling his hair out over it, I'm gonna start pulling my hair out over it. I didn't know if there was maybe a time frame for the backlog to be addressed, or if we could potentially get some relief off her having to continually pay for temporary licenses.
Yeah, but you know that we changed temps now to 90 days, right?
I'm not looking at this paperwork.
Oh, there's every
Starts at
six,
6 months.
And then what do we do?
and then it's every month?
3-month extension.
3 months.
Yeah.
It's 6 months and then every 3 months?
That's my understanding. 'Cause
Okay,
I'm
so
looking
you've
at
done
the
it like 2
paperwork I'm
times.
asking. He said he's done it 3, August, April, and March 24.
Oh, okay. All right, so I don't feel so bad, because there are retailers that are doing it like every 30 days.
Good thing he's not here.
No, I get that, I understand. So, we're trying to address it. Manufacturing is not what the backlog committee is working on right now, I want to be very honest. What they're doing is right now full on-premise, and a lot of full on-premise that don't qualify for temps. So, there's a lot of injury everywhere. There are a lot of people waiting, there are a lot of people hurting and wasting dollars. We're trying to pick up the ones that are hurting the most. And again, I invite you to participate in the conversation, because the louder you are, the more you get. The squeaky gets the most out of the system, and that is just the reality.
Yeah.
And so, right now, we're working on OPs. We, essentially takes the position that because there is this temp process, that you are operating, and that we will get to you, and you will get your full license. The beauty of operating under a temp permit, I don't know if you know this, is that we don't actually have enforcement power right now. I'm not inviting bad action. I'm just telling you.
Don't worry about the backlog, actually.
We can enforce it. It's true.
Never So I'm just saying, like, there is something that, there's something that we're also not doing on the other side when you're operating under a time. I do realize that it's more expensive, that is for sure. It may be worth it, exactly. If I would be more. But we have the manufacturing checklist.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on the manufacturing checklist.
Manufacturer, for whatever that's worth, this is just so we can serve some like hard alcohol in our restaurant.
You're talking about adding an OP.
Yeah, I believe.
Oh, well, then you should be in the program, and that should, at some point, become it. But again, if you have a temp, we're really trying to address people that don't have a temp because of the way the statute was written. And, there are people that have been paying rent for 10 months and not operating, and so, but at the same time, I will also tell you that we really try to be fair. We really have to navigate a lot of different landmines here, and we try to be fair, and we're continuing to go in big order. And so, we're literally going into a drawer and pulling out files and sending it to another office and getting an address. We are not pulling things out of queue, we're not saying, oh, we got this phone call, let's do that first. Like, that's not how it's operating. So I ask for patience. I know we've, really been falling behind and further behind, especially in the pandemic, just the number exploded. I gather that, 15 years ago when there was a backlog, it was 800 applications, and we are tenfold of that essentially. So, but our numbers show that we should not have a backlog in 12 months, I would say. So.
We've got about 15 minutes left.
Number one, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your new role.
Thank you, I'm not sure about that, but thank you.
It comes down to accountability.
Yes.
You say that your department is 100 people.
Yes.
I suspect most of you in here have customers. I would suspect so. If there was 8,000 customers at any of our doorsteps and we needed to serve them, our answer would likely be, let's hire more people. So my biggest question for you guys is, what is your intentions to hire more people in order to get through the backlog? Because if it's going to take 12 months, 12 months in construction world or brewery world really means 24 months. As much as your intentions are positive, I was just wondering what your intentions were to hire more people to get through it in order to accomplish your end goal.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So, again, the next time you talk to the legislature, you talk to chamber, that is what you say.
Okay. I will come and see you so we can.
Yeah, and that is something that's, important to us. I swear, I said this yesterday as well, like, there's some kind of conspiracy going on among the states that's like, don't give the alcohol agencies more money, because this is happening around the country, that they want the alcohol industry to produce a lot of tax income, but they don't want to give the agencies the resource to actually run it properly. I don't really know the reason for it, but we continue to navigate. We are actually only an authority by name. We are in fact not an independent authority. We are actually a division of the executive chamber. There are some, in New York State, for example, the Power Authority is actually independent. They sell the power that they get from Niagara Falls, and they actually get to use that money and give it back to community, and they were able to navigate that because in the 30s, there was a political movement of allowing the natural resources to belong to the people. So I've thought a lot about whether I can make an argument that like let the alcohol be allowed, like belong to the people. I don't know if that's like gonna pass the laugh test. But really, we are part of the executive chamber. So whatever money we collect, which I will tell you, our budget is $16 million. 15 years ago, it was $17 million. We bring in $60 million in licensing fees, $5 million or so in enforcement penalties. 282 million in alcohol-related excise tax. People drank $59 billion worth of alcohol last year. So those are the numbers we're dealing with, and we continue to get $60 million as an agency and have 120 people. But having said that, I'm new. Our DOB was a flat budget year this year. They have given us, continue to behind the scenes give us resource to build our software. And so even if it's not showing on paper, we're getting the resource that we need. They will say that we haven't filled our lines. It means that we got some budget, a few years ago for licensing, for example, and we haven't filled it yet. And so from a government budgetary viewpoint, they say that we're not filled to our level and therefore don't deserve more money. So those are kind of the facts we're dealing with, and we continue to fight and we continue to ask. As you know, the executive budget, I just did 2 roadshows this week of the executive budget. It's about what you can say on paper. I don't think it's a politically winning point to say we're giving them $5 million to clear the backlog that we're not supposed to have. And so, it's not sexy. And our problem right now is if we do our jobs too well and we clear the backlog with no additional money, well, guess what? We're not getting any more money, so.
It's not a good argument.
So it's a complicated, answer. I know I'm speaking a lot, but it's certainly something that we think about a lot. But right now we are making do with what we have. But we can certainly answer these questions quicker if we had more bodies just looking at the policy and staying in front of the conversation. I go to alcohol conferences all the time, and New York is constantly being discussed. But I don't know that New York cares enough about New York. And so that needs to change.
Thank you for the comment.
Anyone else? We've got about 10 minutes.
I have a question about on-premise. We've had a liquor license we've had our manufacturing license for more than 20 years and our restaurant for more than 15. And now that weed is legal, you're not supposed to smoke weed on a licensed premises. Is that still true?
Whether you're not supposed to sell it.
Right, we know that. But if someone is in my beer garden smoking a cigarette, having a beer.
Whether they smoke it or not, I think it's a police responsibility.
An area like the city or the county?
I mean, it's really more local.
Yeah, it's a local enforcement issue. Like, we don't have a rule that says you can't smoke it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
We have a rule that says you can't sell it.
Right.
no one can smoke anything, a vape, a cigarette, a cigar, or marijuana inside of your licensed premise. But if they are outside in a designated smoking area,
Right.
or if they're in a parking lot or they're across the street,
Right.
they can do whatever they want. What I've been telling people, because this question comes up all the time, is what the SLA is going to tell you, and what everyone already knows, is that you cannot serve or overserve a clearly intoxicated person. If someone is very intoxicated off of marijuana,
Oh, yeah.
your bartender can tell that. They probably shouldn't be serving them beer, would be my recommendation, but again, you're talking about more really local enforcement type actions.
Yeah, we deal with that, and it's noticeable. They walk in the door and they can't order. It's like, you're having water.
Yeah.
And at least send them back outside.
Yeah.
But we're near Woodstock, so that sort of thing is, has been a problem for many people. So we've dealt with it on that level, but I get pushback saying, well, weed's legal, I can smoke anywhere. I said, well, this is my beer garden where we have beer. We're not allowed to do that. And then I guess now I've been telling them the wrong thing, so. But we have to police it better. I need to make sure that my local jurisdiction allows me to.
You have to rate your fees under the service.
No, of course, yeah, we know that. We've done that many times. That's why we have a great record.
I know, it's
Thank
a
you for all
hard
the things
thing.
you've done for us.
No, it's okay. It's a hard, the two commodities, it's a hard thing, and
Yes.
it will take another decade to find that fine balance if they come on board with the idea of enforcement, right? So, we'll get there.
Thank you.
John Anthony?
Do you know if, as breweries, we can apply for like a wholesale license?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
What's your? Is my question about wholesale. So if a brewer is slow to pay a wholesale, then their license gets posted. Is there any
Retail.
Posted where?
retail?
A retailer will be posted.
If a manufacturer is late AOA, is there an impact?
That's a great idea.
And, the question, just in case everybody didn't hear it, was whether or not there's a delinquent COD list equivalent for the wholesale manufacturing tier. Now, unfortunately, at this point, the delinquent list is limited only to the retail tier by statute. It specifically says retailers. Keep in mind, though, if you're selling to one of your compatriots that has a retail license on the premises, that retail license can be posted. So keep that in mind.
Without naming names, can you give us a little bit more color and context of how much the delay is and what's the struggle for you?
Well, it's a friend of mine.
Okay, great, perfect.
Speaking on behalf of the friend, if it's a net 30, sometimes it's 60, 90.
So they're supposed to pay in 30 days, but they're being paid in 60 or 90 days?
Correct.
Okay.
What's the timing of the rollout of the new software, the upgraded technology that'll, sounds like it might help things. Or do you have one?
So our agency really has struggled. 2023 was a really difficult year for us. We had change in leadership and change in software. It's quite damaging and really unfair to our staff. I had actually asked for it to be delayed, but because of contractual obligations and the fact that we have already run over and over and over, they couldn't stop they couldn't delay it further. And they argued that the permits portal was very unstable and very prone to attacks and stuff, and so really needed to move forward with the launch. The launch has been, I would say, problematic, and we are working on a lot of fixes, and then it involves another contract. So with all of these things add together, we are very nervous about launching another round of it, to be honest. We are maybe 20% in at this point. And you should see the spreadsheet that we keep of all the tools that need to get created, fixed. I don't know if you guys are any of those, but the system was just automatically communicating with, Elkie knows, she's nodding her head because she's probably got people that have been automatically canceled, and people are just, really suffering or getting notices to show up to meetings that they didn't need to come to and stuff like that. So we're still trying to work on getting the first launch cleaned up, so to speak, before we launch another, portal for applications, because, just the claiming of the permits, like you have to go and claim your business, because the whole idea of the software is actually really beautiful. The whole idea is that there will be that day when the applicant, is communicating mostly directly with us, the agency. And the idea is that you control your account. And so, but in that process, you have to then go onto the site and claim your business first before you can file for a permit. And even just that, I think, was like maybe 2 months of bills every day. Just people saying, I can't claim, so, and are trying to have a slowdown, to be honest. You know, we don't want to rush and we don't want to get the staff any more flustered because we launched the entire back office. And so everybody's working off of Leap, but they can't really review a license properly right now. There are all these workarounds. And when you create a lot of workarounds, it becomes problematic for record keeping. So, you know, internally, that's a lot of our time right now.
We are out of time. You have a quick, we're gonna run this session again.
I had another session I was going to go to. I just had a follow-up with the delinquency list question. Is there any thought to changing the policy around selling to delinquent retailers in regards to fintech? Because I feel like as a small brewery doing direct sales, not being able to sell into accounts that are listed as delinquent when the big distributors can because they're signed up with fintech, I feel like that's a real disadvantage for small brewers who maybe don't have the resources to accept fintech or, you know, want to lose that extra percentage.
FinTech is kind of an interesting case. I don't want to get too far into the details, but there was a time when the members of the authority were considering allowing FinTech specifically as the same as cash.
Yeah.
The industry, for whatever reason, could not agree on a standard for who was going to be responsible for the processing fees. Believe it or not, it got into that level of detail.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about large retailers, you're talking about real money.
Right.
As a result, we are where we are. It's not the same as cash.
Yeah, I've just noticed like there's accounts specifically that I'm selling into where I'm losing a draft line because I need a check on delivery and a distributor can come in and sell them, you know, not to call out Jenny, but like they can buy Jenny because they don't have to have cash on hand to make that purchase. But if I want to go in and they're listed as delinquent, they have to write me a check.
Why would the wholesaler be selling to them when you can't?
Because they're on fintech. They'll accept fintech, but they can't write me a check. Because if you're considering fintech to be cash, then they can make a purchase on fintech even though they're not paying for it immediately.
Yeah, again, it's another area of whether people can buy on credit or not. It's one of the fixes that it's on its own slow train.
Okay.
And so this is helpful information and we will look at it
Yeah,
further.
I appreciate you hearing me out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just one thing I just wanted to correct from earlier, that we did look this up, and in ABC law, number 7 here, notwithstanding any contrary provisions of law, a licensee may produce, package, bottle, sell, and deliver soft drinks and other non-alcoholic beverages, vitamins, malts, malt syrups, and other byproducts. So you can make non-alcoholic products.
Great, we've been doing that for 15 years.
Yeah.